YouTubers, you know what time it is if you're tuning in to me. It is 7 p.m. Tijuana, LA, Vancouver time, Pacific time, and it is time for Trends in the Housing Market. It is I, your humble servant, Mike Martins. And today is January 25th, 2018, and the month is almost over. I can't wait till Q1 numbers are out. We'll get to that later. And just a quick disclosure. Do not listen to anything I say. Do not pay attention to me. Don't even watch this damn program. I do not know what I'm talking about. And what else did I want to put in there? Yeah, so that's about it. I just wanted to throw that out there for you guys. And I'm just trying to get my chat up here so I could see you guys and who's watching the show. I am very excited to be here tonight. I was actually looking very forward to be here this Wednesday for the show. There's a lot happening in the housing market. I'm trying to put a little bit of a twist on what's going on in the housing market to try and make people, to make some sense of it all. And tonight, yes, we have open lines. The open lines is 250-800-1489. And if there's any housing in your area, let us know what is happening, where are the prices going, what's happening with the rentals, what's happening with the cost of living. I'd like to know. Everybody is signing in. Walking Journeys here. Eddie Franco's here in the comment section. I would like to thank everyone that's picking up this show and rebroadcasting it, people listening to it at work. Lots of people actually listening to this at work in secrecy, apparently. And so much happening in the housing market. And before I kick this off, just want to let you guys know, sit back, grab yourself a nice cold lemon water, hit the lights, and let's relax and enjoy the show. If you want to call in, like I said, phone number is 250-800-1489. And also, people are very concerned about my YouTube status and what's going on. There's a YouTube threshold of 4,000 hours. Do you remember that? In 4,000 hours? Somebody's calling. Hello?
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 Hi, this is, Martin.
Hello, you're live.
Hi, this is, Sam.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, I'm hearing something different on this. So, I wanted to respond to what you said about housing.
Yeah.
So, like in the last few months, because of work, I've been driving around the Golden Horseshoe, Toronto, Southern Ontario, and I don't think that most people are actually what's going on because they don't drive around work as much as I do.
Okay.
If you drive from London, Ontario, Kitchener,
okay,
well, from Guelph all the way over to Lindsay, down to Pickering, back, up to Market. I mean, it's phenomenal. Somebody should get footage. All there is row after block after country road of just houses, of just these cookie-cutter housing developments sitting on prime farmland. There's the same outlet malls, exact same Tim Hortons and Wendy's, the Petro-Canada gas station, infrastructure already built 4 lanes across on these roads that maybe a few years ago were country and farmland. So like what we think of as Markham, if we think like back to the early 2000s, isn't Markham anymore. Markham is extended way back into the country. It meets Stouffville and Aurora. And
oh, wow. Yeah, I was going to ask you about Stouffville, Aurora, all those areas. And what about Georgetown up that way?
It's all houses as well.
Holy, I remember Georgetown, 10, 15 years ago when I visited that area. It was just a little country road. And then you got Winston Churchill Boulevard there going through Highway 7. And it was a little town.
It's all houses and it's packed in with people. So Brampton, Guelph, Milton, Rockwood, they're all one community basically now. And they're just jam-packed with people and townhouses and density so intense that if you lived in Toronto in the 90s or the 80s, it blows your mind. I mean, it's a social phenomenon that just isn't being documented.
But do you remember the article I was reading? I don't know if it was 2 weeks ago that Toronto is slated to build 58,000 new homes for 2018.
I would say, that seems like a conservative number.
That's just Toronto.
Houses?
That's in Toronto proper. Houses and condos in Toronto proper. They're slated for 48 to 50,000 new units just in Toronto, not in the Golden Horseshoe area, not in Hamilton, not anywhere else.
I mean, the density is already so extreme that it's affecting quality of life. It takes 2 hours to drive from Brampton to Camp. I mean, people need to start asking themselves, is this the kind of society they want to live in? That's traffic jams, that's density, that is so uncomfortable. And density historically brings things with it.
Okay, let me tell you something. Have you been to Vancouver ever?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you notice how the main streets in Vancouver are like Dufferin Road? Like they're just very narrow streets and those are your main streets?
Okay.
All the streets in Vancouver, like the major roads, we don't even have a highway coming from the airport to Vancouver. You have to take side streets to get to Vancouver. Now, it's gotten so bad in Vancouver. Same thing like Toronto. But the problem is everyone left Vancouver because they can't afford to live in it. And those little streets can't afford the density, just like Toronto. The overbuilding and condos and townhomes being built. All of them, half of them are all left empty, and everyone's coming from outside the city to come into the city, and it is a gong show on those roads too. And how is the QEW in the 401? Is it still a parking lot?
Absolutely. So you have to take the 407 if you want to get a lot of places. That's the toll highway.
The toll highway, yes.
So,
when I'm visiting, anytime I visit Toronto, I'm on that highway 24/7. I do not take any other highway because anywhere else you don't get anywhere.
And so all these houses, they haven't decreased the price of houses. So how are more houses going to do that? They're not.
Okay, what I was saying like a few weeks ago or a week ago, Toronto, London, and what's the other city? Ireland. All three of those the major cities, they're actually looking to build out of this housing crisis. They believe if they build more, it will put more units on the market, and those more units on the market is going to stabilize the pricing and bring it down to make it more according. But the more they build, the more investors buy, the more stuff stays empty.
Yeah, it's a formula that hasn't worked.
It's not going to work. You could not build out of a housing market. They tried it in 1982. They tried it in 1961. They tried doing it many times in other major metropolis cities, and it did not work, and you ended up with a massive housing crash. The difference between this housing crash and any other housing crash we have ever had in history is very simple. This housing crash is actually tied to our economy, where the other housing crashes weren't.
It's definitely different. I don't think it's going to go the way that people are expecting it to go, because so far none of it has.
Right, but the thing is, the problem is, like Canada, remember when you were young, how everything was made in, you buy Honeybee honey, you buy Redpath sugar from the Redpath factory that was there on Yonge Street, down where the big ship is. You would buy salt that was made in Canada. Now we don't make anything anymore. So what's happening is we tied our economy to housing and student loans and unsecured debt. And if the housing market goes down, our economy will follow because there's nothing else. Because oil has no value anymore. Oil is like $63 a barrel. Do you know what I'm saying? We have tied housing to our economy, and this is a very dangerous thing. It's probably going to be worse than Venezuela.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a push, what seems to be a push from the globalists for some time, for people to shift their most important investments away from housing.
Right.
Things like stocks, whatever, cryptocurrencies. And, I mean, so this is probably part of something much bigger, an intended strike.
Well, because remember, housing became a commodity, not an investment anymore, right? Housing became a commodity because it got to a point where it's become something like the stock market. and people are playing roulette. And a lot of people are going to lose. And who's going to lose? The poor. The working poor is going to lose really bad. What town do you live in? Richmond Hill?
Actually, I live 2.5 hours outside of the city, but for work, I end up driving all over southern Ontario.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's actually very upsetting to drive around because I'm an environmentalist, and what I see them doing to the farmland for the future, this is very bad. We need our farmland in order to grow local, which there's a big push for. So if you're building on, some of the best farmland in the country, the same thing goes on in Vancouver or mainland.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember that article I read? Was it last week? How local, not Vancouver, but it was Richmond the farmland that was used to make, I don't know what because we have a different climate, so we could grow different stuff, right? So the article said farmland sold 100 times above asking price.
Yeah, so I mean, people are just they're investing in it in order to make money. And, I mean, I would hope that the powers that had more concern for our farmland, and they just don't. I mean, Brampton, Ontario is the perfect example of a place that was still a farming community when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
All the farmland just has houses sitting on top of it. So, I mean, it's really just never hear anything in the media about the shock, the trauma of watching this transformation happen. And really the bulk of it's happened since about 1996. If you ask me, there's really been a housing boom since about 1996.
Mm-hmm.
Never let up.
It's been in a bull market. Like Australia has been in a bull. I know it's going to be very hard for you to believe, but Australia's been in a housing bull market since 1979.
Wow.
Yeah, it's worse for them out there. So, in all fairness, maybe you should go around with your camera and do some videos. Just, you don't have to talk. Just maybe do some videos of some areas that are being developed all over the place, and kind of maybe share it with everybody. You know what I mean?
Well, you'd never know where you were filming. I mean, because every community looks exactly the same.
Like you said earlier, with the same Tim Hortons and the same Burger King and the same this and the same Wendy's. I know what you mean. And yeah, it's becoming mainstream. But like I told you earlier, it's if let's say our economy, Canada's economy, was based off of electric cars, we would have a lot of electric car factories, and that's all we'll be doing is building electric cars. But because our economy is a big percentage is based off of housing, guess what you see everywhere? Housing. And that's what it is. Our economy is based off of housing. The more housing, the more money the economy could generate, the more money the banks make, and the more money the investors make.
I mean, they always say that our population is declining. It's very difficult to believe when you see the masses of areas that have been built out in southern Ontario, and when you compare that to even like 20 years ago, even 30 years ago, there's no way that this population is declining. There's probably more people in southern Ontario than maybe there is in half of the rest of Canada. Like, I mean, it's gridlock everywhere, and that's not a good quality of life, no matter how fantastic your house is, right? When you're scared to drive to the corner store because you don't know how long it's going to take you, and it will be back in time. It's just crazy.
And the same thing with me. Same thing. I left the big city to move to a tiny town, 2 hours away from the major city and from Vancouver, and I live in a cowboy town. I love it. It's laid back. It takes me 2 minutes to drive to work. And in the summer, I take my bike. It's fantastic. You know what I'm saying? I left that whole thing. I left it behind. I couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't handle, you know what I'm saying? And then Vancouver got so bad that no one spoke English anymore, and it got really out of control. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of change. And I think you can try to escape to a small town, But the thing is it's just a heartbeat behind you. Like today I was in Markham and came up through Stouffville and through Newmarket. And, I mean, all of that area is mass development. And I realized how close it was to where I thought I had moved to a small town and was beyond it. And in just a few years, it's almost here. So, I mean, what do? You just keep running? That's not a solution. And people really now need to start thinking about solutions if they're concerned about it. You know, because you can't just keep, well, they call it white flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking they can escape and run away. At some point, you have to stand up for what you believe in. You know, if you don't, then you have no right to complain, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's you know, but a lot of people are in fear of losing their jobs. I had someone message me telling me that they can't comment on my videos and they can't subscribe to my videos because their job has their passwords for their YouTube, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going on all over the world. I was watching documentaries on Sweden, and a lot of people were saying the same thing in those documentaries today about not having free, not being able to express concerns. And I mean, that, you know, that's a very repressive state to live in, whether we're talking about Sweden or here, where we're scared to express ourselves and to vocalize what our lived experience is. That's very, that sounds very dictatorial. So, I mean, how are we living in democracy if we're scared to even express what our lived experience is? That's not hate. What you see around you, what you're experiencing day by day, that's reality.
And you know what the scary thing, what's scaring me, is that a majority of people aren't having kids because they can't afford to. And how is the population going up if the Canadian proper isn't having kids anymore?
So, I mean, yeah, you'd think that there would have been incentives if, you know, quote-unquote experts knew that our population was declining, why there were no incentives for Canadian women to have kids, to have larger families. I don't understand that, why there was no incentive. It's incredibly hard for Canadian couples who face infertility to adopt children. Like, people don't understand the barriers there are to that. And there's so many Canadian couples who are seeking fertility treatments because they couldn't afford to have kids when they were younger. And now they may have secured some kind of income where they feel, yeah, you know, I can have a family, but it's late, right?
Yeah.
So it's very sad, and I would say it is a phenomenon. All of these things are, and they're not being really documented except for, you know, in places like, in parts maybe on a show like yours, or in these documentaries that people piece together and stick on YouTube for a while. So yeah, it's really, really, I think, for people, you know, everybody has a right to feel some security, and I don't think that most of the working class in Canada feel that.
No, they're completely obliterated. They just have no idea what's happening around them, and that's why I left the city. Anyways, I'm gonna let you go. I got a lot of articles to read here, and I appreciate you calling in and giving us some insight. Maybe make some videos, upload them, and share them with us so we know what's going on out east in the Golden Horseshoe area.
Yeah, and keep up the good work. Your show's great, and it's very informative. So
I try my best. You know, like I said, I'm not educated, and I can barely read, but I need to make people know. I've been doing this for 5 years now about this, almost 6 years, this housing thing. So I just...
I know. I think that your audience will pick up. It'll only grow, so keep it up.
Okay. Well, thank you for the call.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Anyways, guys, I got other people trying... Wow, a lot of people... Anyways, so what is going on? Out in the Horseshoe Valley, it is complete. And you know what? I remember in 2006, when I would drive from Miami to West Palm Beach, if you look on the map, I remember the entire beach area became condos. Condos, skyscrapers, houses. from all the way from before you would have patches. You would hit like the Everglades area. You'd have patches of no housing and other patches with no housing. Anyway, someone's calling in again. Hello. Hello.
Speak to Mike.
Hello.
Hi, can I speak to Mike?
Speaking.
Hey, Mike.
Hey.
Martin, how are you tonight, man?
Good. How are you? Who is this?
It's Mike Martin.
No, who's speaking?
Yeah, it's. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I thought I'm Mike Hecker.
Mikey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man. Listen, I've been following your channel for a very long time.
I know, dude. I know you have. Of course you have.
Thanks, man. You know, like I really appreciate all the content you're putting together. You're doing good work out there.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you commenting on every friggin' video I put out there. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, in case you haven't noticed as of yet. But listen, I have a dilemma I'm hoping you and your loyal followers can help me out with.
What's up?
Okay, man. I need a job. I'm hoping I can go out there, maybe stay at your place for a little bit while I get myself up and running. You know, I won't be in big trouble. You know, you and Rosie can do your own thing. Give me a room in the basement and maybe a part-time job at your store.
Well, the problem is, I run the store by myself, right? And I do run the store alone. I just work a few hours and come home, right?
Okay, so what do you suggest here, man? I need a job. I need a home. I can't afford a home.
Are you in Ontario?
Yeah, I can't even afford an apartment out here.
So where are you living now?
I'm in Toronto. I live downtown Toronto.
Right, but do you live alone, or?
I live with my family.
Okay. So a lot of people are with their families now because of the situation they're in right now, right?
Yeah, man. So, like, what do you suggest I do? Should I just pack it all in and get the hell out of this?
The thing is, dude, if you wanna, like, relocation is the key. I think the key to do it, the key of doing it is finding a small town in somewhere in northern Ontario, really northern Ontario, you know, like Sudbury or Thunder Bay area, and finding a job, lining up a few interviews, and then going out there.
That sounds like a good idea. But do you think I can get a mortgage out there, maybe put it on the national Visa card?
No, you could not put it on a national Visa card.
Okay, so are you hiring anybody out there, buddy?
Me? No.
Yeah.
I'm a small one-man business.
Well, that's okay. I'm a one-man show too. I'm out there. I can work at the store. I can check the place out. Put a roof over my head, man.
Well, unfortunately, I don't make enough to support. I barely support myself. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, listen, Mr. Martin, I really appreciate your help, and all the best to you guys, man.
Get the resume out there. Get your resume out, and line up interviews in small towns.
Sounds like a good idea, Martin. Thanks very much.
Yeah, take care. Have a good night.
Okay, keep up the good work.
Thank you, bro. That's my boy, Mike Hecker. He's comments on every video I make. He jokes around a lot, so watch out. He's in the comment section here. I think he is. People are saying, wow, the comment section's on fire. Already 2 calls. Has the housing bubble finally burst in Sydney? Housing prices are slipping twice as fast as the national average. Guys, we're having a major problem here in Australia. Sydney property prices suffered a 0.4% fall in the week of January 21st. Australia's 5 other state capital cities experienced a 0.2% drop. Melbourne was the nation's strongest performer for the past 12 months. Sydney was the weakest, with just 1.9% growth last year. So Australia is facing an up and down swing, and I don't trust a lot of these articles, especially if they're kind of relayed from other real estate companies, real estate agencies. I do not. And someone's commenting in the comment section, I am sorry, Mike Hecker, that you're having a tough time. Everyone is having a tough time right now. I mean, it's getting really tough out there. Depending on how, you look at it and what situation you're in, you know, and like the first caller that called, and I think her name was Jen, she said basically that she's getting tired of the gridlock, the asphalt everywhere, the infrastructure everywhere. That's happening, and a lot of these big cities are having the same thing. The average private. So let's get back to the article here for radio listeners. I'm jumping back and forth through comments and discussion here. People are commenting here. Canada desperately needs conservatives. Let's see what else here. And then Mike Hacker says, "Can I borrow $50?" Anyways, okay. The average private treaty sale for houses in the national largest city was 850,000. Someone's calling me. Oh, it's from Vancouver. Hello, you're live.
Hi, Mike.
Yo.
Yeah, I thought there's actually an angle a lot of people don't really talk about.
Who's this?
Actually, that... Hello?
Who is this?
Dylan.
Dylan?
Yep.
Oh, thanks. You calling from Vancouver, I take it, right?
That's right.
Okay, I see the area code there. How's it going, Dylan?
Pretty good.
Good to hear. So what's the angle you got?
Well, I think some people don't want to necessarily kind of face this, which is, I think that a lot of the housing crunch actually comes from our own grandparents and our own sort of elders who are living longer with advances in medical care and all of that, where they have nowhere to put their money, and what they're actually doing is buying up houses. So they own two houses, and like they buy them for their kids and stuff. And it's a new thing for this generation to have so many like elderly people who stay in the workforce and buy up all the homes that remain.
Did you see the article I read? Oh God, it was like 3 weeks ago, where people are buying homes for their kids.
Right. Well, and I mean myself.
The kid was in grade 1
out of Vancouver, and I'm doing the same thing because it's such a safe bet. While the rates are so low, that anyone who's kind of ahead of the curve buy up these homes and then like take them out of the pool. And when the jobs are reducing because all these nations are specializing, as we've already put, all our manufacturing has been out, export. You come down to just a few industries like softwood and a handful of things.
Yeah, and nickel was it nickel and copper, right?
Well, yeah, pretty much, just a handful of commodities. So we live and die by that. And what we might actually be seeing is more of a general like inequality type of thing expanding. I traveled to Hong Kong years back, and you see really, really old people who would like walk carts on the street, and then young people super wealthy. And it's more about, are you a technocrat? Were you born into a family with some money? And where new generations, if they start with a certain, like with a limited amount of employability, or they don't have like a rolling start, it just becomes where certain families in Canada may become very much like Hong Kong, where you have wealthy families start and take over like generation after generation.
I was actually going to make a video sometime this week discussing whether Canada could be the new Mexico. And I was going to talk exactly what you're saying, how we're going to have this huge divide in inequality and wealth, where the rich is going to be so rich and the poor is going to be so poor that you could actually physically see it, the inequality, the second you drive down the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's happening already. I mean, I'm blessed in that I saved from my 20s, really disciplined. I lived in houses with 5-foot ceilings and just under my means for like over a decade. What I did is I saved to the point where I could do this, but you start to see what it does. Like it makes it so if you're ahead of that curve, you remove inventory from the pool. You can almost feel wealthy people, myself included, and I'm saying I'm on the early cusp of that. But the fact is, I can sense it, like where people younger just have no hope almost. And it feels like the globalization movement is that Canadians didn't realize how gifted they were, how blessed they were to be born here, that you could almost walk into a comfortable, half-acre house years back, and it wasn't that expensive. And then the reality is global trade and this sort of transparency buying and money movement around nations is so much easier that the wealthy have decided, why don't we just scoop up all the houses? And it's not hard for like the top 10% of the globe to just completely amass all of the real estate. And eventually it just gets where, we're almost born into a society where housing will have to be issued. by a government, or
well, that's where we're headed right now. That's exactly what's happening. What happened is there was a huge capital outflow in China, right? And a lot of people were scared to leave their money in China. I spoke to people from China and investors from China that told me the same thing. They tell me the same thing. They're scared of the government going into their bank accounts and taking out their money whenever the government feels like. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people needed to remove their wealth and park it in other countries. And the stock market was a gong show, so it was unsafe. A lot of other different avenues of investment were uncertain, especially if you open a small business, the taxation is through the roof. So a lot of people felt safer in parking their money in real estate.
Well, and not only that, I mean, it's the ease with which to cover a mortgage. If you have decent money, like you can put 20% down where I live, buy up a house, turn around and rent an up and down out of it, and you're covering the whole mortgage. I mean, if you think about that, it means anyone who has any money, which is a lot of the boomers, which we have a huge demographic of boomers, that are all either approaching retirement, and they want to live out the next 25 years spending as little as possible, which drains the economy and the tax pool, but they want an income to survive off of, right? You're getting old and sick, and, you're facing death one day. But you care about the future of Canada? Not really. You just need to secure income and be safe till you pass on, which I understand. But see what it does to our country is that people at that age, they don't think, well, if I buy up a house and rent it out to the two millennials who might have bought it otherwise, I've actually created demand. And when they live to 85 years old nowadays, then the housing gets taken off the market for so long.
Yes. So one last question, Dylan. What do you see in the next 5 years in the housing market?
I think what will happen, because the conventional mortgage tightening up with the stress test, the increase in the rates, I think it'll slow the people who are barely able to buy. But I don't doubt that as long as the rates keep hovering around fairly low like this, that anyone who amasses enough to roll into the next house will just continue to do so. And if Canada has to desperately prop up its tax base, and all those property transfer taxes have to be maintained high to pay all these medical costs for elderly people and so on, that we're just going to keep saying whatever we'll say, but drive the housing as high as we can, be careful not to bust that bubble, and that we'll keep seeing wealthy people, foreigners or otherwise, continue to basically take over all of the property market and kind of entrench themselves as wealthy families.
It reminds me of LA County, what you're talking about.
Yeah, like California, LA County specifically, there's so many places that are just, like, the cities like San Francisco, London, and so on, they're never going to be owned by poor people, ever again. Mm-hmm. So what we're seeing is that all urban centers are becoming just like that, where the wealthy own the whole urban. And the fact is, for most people, you go to university, get an educated job, as much as they'd love to live out in, like, a rural place like I do, unless you can do it virtually, remotely, you have to go to the city, which is why the young people go there and struggle in little basement suites or go 4 people to a property.
It's gotten so bad in Ireland, in Dublin, where big companies are actually paying the last month and damage deposit for future hires because they can't afford to move to Dublin.
Yeah, and you know what that's just like? Look at Japan through the 90s. They're basically us in the future. Their population was way older and way ahead. They've got that they have the longest, lifespans in the world.
Yes.
Look at their property. It hit this insane peak of, like, can barely afford, and then it just stayed there for, like, forever. And it just sits there, and they don't even look at property as an investment anymore. It actually depreciates in some places. It's just a place, they buy it to secure a place to live.
Yes, and they're family hand-me-downs.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that, look to Japan if you want to see the future of other nations like Canada and the U.S. and stuff, where they hit that. Remember, they had negative interest rates, and they just desperately try to prop their economy.
Yes, I remember that. That was, what was that? 02? Was that 02?
Yeah, I can't remember specifically,
but
they
was
did
02.
The negative rates to encourage desperately any kind of investment, because they hit kind of the peak of what a capitalist system does. They maxed out everything bloated out, and then they just sat there deflating like a balloon in the corner till it gets wrinkly. You know what I mean? It just sits there from a peak and just stalls forever and ever. They had a lost decade, they called it, way back in, I think, those the 90s to 2000.
Yes, that was been 93, right?
Somewhere around there.
No, it was no, 96. 96. I remember it was 96 to about 2001. There was kind of a little bit of a gap there. Their economy had a few hiccups. I know they're in sync. What do they call their Their stock ticker there, and I forgot what they're called.
The Nikkei.
That's it. Yeah, that hit huge lows and kind of rebounded back and then dropped again in 2006.
And they didn't have to have a collapse, and that's what I think would happen when we finally hit the peak. I don't think we'll have a collapse unless we have some kind of brutal calamity.
Unless you're seeing more of a roller coaster effect.
Maybe a little in Vancouver, but I bet you we'll kind of peak out. It'll be like a deflation. You'll just kind of sit there. Everyone will be trapped in their houses with a long stagnation of activity, and whoever's in is in. I don't think we'll necessarily have this 20% correction and everyone has to drop their houses. I think it just, like you get in and now we're all crammed in and we while away paying it till the mortgage is up.
I get it. That's a really good insights there from, really good insights. And one more question then. Do you see major metropolis cities becoming abandoned?
No, not unless we can get more. You know what will have if they can peak to a point where, like in Vancouver, they'll start shoving tech sectors out to like Richmond or Abbotsford.
Yep. I know 2 company owners that moved out to like Maple Ridge.
Right, and I think, well, I had a whole host of friends go out to Maple Ridge, but all of them do that brutal commute into Vancouver, and some businesses in response in desperation started allowing half the week to be telecommuted, where you were in a role that you could work remotely.
Yes.
For people who have to be face-to-face, you have no choice but to commute in. That's why all those restaurants in Vancouver can't even open, because no one who wants to work as a cook can afford to spend 2 hours in their car every day, and they can't afford to live in Vancouver, right? Do
you remember that story I read about 2 months ago about what's happening in Sydney with this same situation you're talking about?
Oh, where they're having the same struggle to get workers that are below a certain wage level.
Exactly. They actually had to build specific housing, like a condominium, for police officers, nurses, doctors, what else? Bus drivers, garbage men. They couldn't afford to, teachers, they couldn't afford to live in Sydney, so they had to actually had to build an entire condo complex that wasn't for sale, that for rent only. And it's only for people that work in those industries.
Yeah, I think sometimes immigrant workers often end up filling roles like that. Some of my family's Filipino, and what I found with them is, if you travel, you realize Canada has an amazing lifestyle.
It does.
And when immigrant workers, come in, or people who are looking to make a new life in Canada, maybe starting by immigrant work, they'll put up with working by, sharing homes, doing that kind of, we'll all suite out a big house and split up the cost. And there'll be those roles like nurses and doctors and janitorial firms and, or not, or police, whatever they can do that people won't do, but, right now, like what we'll call the Canadians who are kind of accustomed to expecting to be able to make a living off of those jobs. They get upset feeling as though those jobs are being taken, but I find in most cases it's that people have given up on those jobs because they couldn't get a house with it, and that you find that people who come to Canada take them because they don't seem as unreasonable to them, or they're willing to sacrifice more, and not because of anything other than they're just not, they're not used to the things we feel a little entitled to in Canada. It's just been so easy for so many decades till now.
Anyways, yeah, my wife's Filipina, so...
Yeah.
Anyways, I want to thank you for your call, and it was very informative and a very good perspective on that. I urge people to comment below in the comment section what they think and of your...
thanks for keeping the conversation alive. It's good that everyone's talking about it, because then, we'll all maybe come up with some solutions one day, or at least there's awareness.
Well, there's no secret about it, and this is the number one discussion everywhere you go, is the price of housing.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, another caller from the city of Vancouver, and very interesting points of views. Anyways, okay, so let's go here. So, continue here. So, Brisbane, where was I? Yeah, Australia. So I'm getting a back and forth. Housing bubble finally burst in Australia. Then you go to the next article. Sydney, Melbourne housing prices have 1 in 5 chance of correction, says JP Morgan. That's not a good chance. That's really bad. And speculative, right now, rising prices suggest a speculative rationale for buying. And it's a simple model here that shows the price of household income by city. And a lot of people have, in Australia, have been living in the bull markets their entire lives. So if they didn't buy from 1979, they're screwed. Because the price of housing has been going up in Australia steady welly since 1979. And it goes on here to say JP Morgan's research coincidences with the growing number of expert predictions and warning. So basically, Australia's once booming market looks like it's cooling off. But it says here, where I read something here and I want to see where it is. Right here. The chance of a steep price fall in Brisbane or Adelaide is rated at 8%, while the odds of a further 15% plus slide in Perth price is 7%. So these are, remember guys, these are just estimations. Don't freak out if it doesn't happen. Now, look at this. Australia ranked the third least affordable housing market in the world. The Australian dream is getting further out of reach, with Aussies now dropping a whopping 13 times their annual income to buy a home, and the average mortgage hitting an all-time high. Come on, guys. We got to get something going here in Australia. I think the politicians need to wake up and say, hey, you know what? The Australian proper is finished. This bull market's been going on since 1979. I mean, so everybody is someone's saying that I'm being paid by Trudeau. I don't get nothing from Trudeau. I don't know anybody. Yeah, so I don't know what they're talking about. Mike. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you guys talking about. Anyways, let's get back to this article. Australia ranked the third least affordable. What's new? This is old news. The average Australian mortgage has cracked $500,000 for the first time, making it into the housing market as much harder for many Aussies. So the last 3 months of 2017, the average loan size nationally ballooned more than 500,400. A report from comparison website comparethemarket.com.au shows New South Wales pulled a national average, with mortgages in that state owing an average of more than $613,000. And what are you getting? 2 bedrooms and a bath. Ooh, you get a place to park your car in this one. In Victoria, the average loan size was more than $496,000. Australia was considered the third least affordable country, behind Hong Kong and New Zealand. Wow. Of Australia's overpriced market, Dr. Donald Bush, the former governor of the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, said Australia is perhaps the least densely populated major city in the world. Australia is not the city, but anyways. But the state governments have the contrived to drive land prices in major urban areas in very high levels, with the result in the country housing market, state capitals, has become severely unaffordable. Finally, someone that knows what the hell they're talking about. Anyways, former family First Senator Bob Day also blamed governments for housing crisis. Of course, the government. You're gonna put the economy pegged to a housing crisis. Why would you do that? Why don't you peg the economy to GDP? Make batteries. I don't care. Make solar panels. Do something. Stop pegging the economy to friggin' housing. The scarcity drove up land prices. Is wholly contrived. It is a matter of political choice, not geographical reality, he said. Capital city home prices fell 0.2% last week, but Sydney values fell twice as fast as the national average. So here it is. Sydney, 815 large. Melbourne, 680 large. Canberra, 650 large. Brisbane, 525 large. Perth, 495 large. So there you go. I heard small towns out there are going up in value because people are leaving. Here we go. Another Australian story. Moving to the country, the answer to the housing affordability for some. But prices... sorry, someone's commenting there. But prices are rising. So everyone's moving out to the country. So a lot of people are getting out to these country-like homes, just like I did, and I left the city. I couldn't live in the city anymore. The cost of living was just way too high. There's no bang for your buck. I'm not trying to be cheap, but I'm not paying $1 million for a house that's worth $400,000 or $300,000 or whatever you want to see it, or whatever the stress test allows you to. Someone saying they're focused on my beard, and yeah, everyone's commenting there in the comment section. Anyways, moving to the country, the answer to the housing affordability for some, but prices are rising. Real estate agents are reporting strong interests in regional property sales as first hometown buyers are retiring baby boomers realize the savings that they can be made by a move to the country. And guys, that's what's happening. I bought this house for $260. Yeah, yeah. You got to see this place. It's the best. There's the house right there. And in tying into that article, I want to do a quick plug here. Living the Dream series. Don't forget to watch the series, guys. This is the house I bought. It's got tons of rooms. I use a lot of the rooms. I have a gym. I set up this office. I have lots of bedrooms to spare. It's a really good place. It's a good. Yeah, Steve the plumber said he wants to call. Go ahead, call in, please. Mike Hecker saying that Mike Martins needs more chest hair. Oh, I don't need more chest hair, trust me. Don't forget to watch these series, people. Please, 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 please. Some good stuff in here. Some old trends in the housing market every week. And a lot of videos getting out there. All right. This is a really sad story I'm going to get to in a second. Okay, let's get to some other things here I got. Okay, I need to talk about what's happening with YouTube. So it looks like my channel won't qualify for monetization and all that other stuff because every time I check with the calculator how many hours has been watched on my channel, because I need to reach the 4,000 hour threshold, it's always 3,999.09 hours. I did a video about it live. I showed you guys with the calculator. I took my minutes watched for the month. It's always 3,999 hours watched every single time. And it's not reaching that 1 minute mark to reach 4,000 hours. Anyways, so the comment section's on fire here. A lot of people going back and forth there. So guys, let's keep it PG. So I might, if I do not reach the 4,000 hours a month, which I know I'm way surpassing that, but their analytics shows 3,999.09. I might not be able to live stream anymore. There's a rumor going around that live streaming abilities will be taken down, and I can't do my show anymore. And I don't know how to get that extra minute a month in views, so I'm 1 minute shy of 4,000 hours every single day that I check. Let's keep going here. Where am I here? Yeah, I'm working on other platforms too, guys. Other platforms I'm working on. I'm trying to get Patreon and the other one, Steemit, and I haven't gotten an email reply from them yet, so it's probably going to be another few days. Hopefully I could hear from them. You know what I'm saying? And let's move on here. Bubba Ray from Texas says, "Hey, Mikey, remember me?" Yes, I do remember you very well. And good friend of mine that was visiting up from Texas. Anyways, let's move on here. I got some good stories here. Auckland mother and son living in a car due to safety fears at emergency housing unit. This is so sad. I watched this. This is it's a very sad story. I feel for this lady. Homeless mom says she feels safer living in her car than a government-funded emergency housing unit. And she moved out 2 weeks ago because it was not safe for her son. She suffers from racial abuse, and her 11-year-old had a panic attacks while the housing facility in West Auckland, she said. This is not good. This is I don't know what to say about this. It's depressing. It's severely depressing. Very, very sad. Very sad. Let's move on here. I'm dying to get out of here. Slum-like houses exposed in South Auckland. I had someone call in from New Zealand a few weeks back. They were telling me the same thing. They're like, Mike, you're dead on. The houses here are just atrocious. What the hell is that? That's a piece of crap. Who the hell's going to live in that? Let me zoom into this photo for you guys. This thing's a piece of crap. What is this? What is this? Are you going to rent that out to somebody? Tenants are being told to speak up if they're living in substandard housing. Okay, people, I know there's a lot of people in New Zealand watching this. I check my analytics, and I get, just from New Zealand alone, I think I get up to 18,000 to 25,000 minutes a week in New Zealand, and you're watching my videos. Speak up. It's telling you here. If you're living like this, that's... why? It says that tenants are being told to speak up if they're living in substandard housing. Reports have emerged from Auckland suburb of people who are paying upwards of $250 a week to live in leaky, moldy houses, of some which are overcrowded, lacking water or lacking water? What is this, bedrock? I mean, at least bedrock, Fred Flintstone didn't have a lack of water. Or electricity? What is this, Baghdad? Like, really? Someone, Ricky Tomatoes is commenting. Mike, did you read the CBC article about the home buyers paying less, paying less for new builds? No, I haven't. Send me the link. Send me the link, guys, if you can. If you guys don't mind. During the week, I'll read them on the weekend. So this is a nightmare. There's another person paying $520 a fortnight to live in a cockroach-infested flat. This is. Let's expose this, people. Slum-like housing exposed in South Auckland. Look at that. It's so bad that the paint is being stripped off the damn door. Look at the ceiling. It's falling apart, and it probably has asbestos up there, too. This is... yeah. Let's move on. Tauranga beats Auckland in New Zealand's least affordable housing global study. So, breathe a sigh of relief, people living in Auckland, New Zealand. You are no longer the most expensive. It's Tauranga has outranked Auckland as New Zealand's most unaffordable city, according to major global study out today, which showed Auckland's improving affordability meant the city moved from the world's 4th to the 9th most expensive city to buy a house out of 92 major city markets. Oh, that's great. Now New Zealand has 2 cities in the top 10 that are unaffordable. It's getting out of control. The annual Demographic of International Housing Affordability Survey showed that Auckland's housing is not unaffordable as it has been in previous years, and 8 other cities are more expensive. So everyone always looks to the city capitals to find out which is the country's capital, to find out which is the most expensive. But sometimes you need to look outside the major cities. So, and then, so this is another one here coming from Bloomberg, saying that this rare bear who called the crash, warns housing is too hot again. So the person that basically called the housing crash in 2007 or 2006 is basically calling again. When real estate investors get this confident, money manager James Stack gets nervous. U.S. home prices are surging to new records. Home builder stocks last year outperformed all other groups and bears. They are now an endangered species. Stack 66, who manages $1.3 billion for people with high net worth, predicted the housing crash in 2005, just before prices reached their peak. Now, from his perch in Whitefish, Montana, he says the housing bubble bellwether barometer of home builder and mortgage company stocks, which jumped 80% in the past year, once again is flashing red. One expert on board thinking that it's out of control. He says that it is 2005 all over again in terms of the valuation extreme, the psychological excess and the denial, said Shaq, whose fireproof files of newspaper articles on bear markets date back to 1929. People don't believe in housing is in a bubble and don't want to hear about prices being a little bit bullish. You see, guys, like I said, the U.S. is a few years behind the rest of all the other English-speaking countries. Canada's been in a bull market for about 8 to 10 years. Australia's been in a bull market since 1979 for their housing. New Zealand's been in a bull market for the last 5-6 years. London's been in a bull market for the last really kind of 3 years. Ireland's been in a bull market for the last year. Scotland, Edinburgh, has been in a bull market for the last 6 months. And they're getting out of control there in those cities. Let's move on. This is from the Express. From the UK Express. Expert who predicted the 2008 crash concludes we are heading for another financial meltdown. Another person. The world is in a cusp of another financial crisis due to another developing housing market bubble, according to financial expert who predicted the worst financial crisis, the Great Depression. So this is the same article, James Stack, again. Sorry, guys, but this is another one. This guy's crying here in the image here and looking at this thing crash. Let's move on. Value of UK housing stock rises by a third into 7.14 trillion pounds. Only 1/5 increase in value accounted by building new homes. So building new homes, like the beginning first caller, building new homes won't fix this housing crisis. So, yeah, comments are flowing nicely. Everyone chip in. Chip into the housing discussion here in the comment section. Guys, don't forget also to follow me on Instagram. A lot of people message me on there now. It's really good. It's easy. I get notifications when someone messages me on Instagram. It's really nice. Also, I want to just take a break here and want to thank Jason K. In London, Ontario, who is watching this live stream. He watches the live stream every Wednesday while sitting in his tow truck waiting for a call. So I want to thank Jason for watching the show. I want to thank Jerry C. over in London, who listens to me live at work. Wow, there's a lot of people passing the time listening to me on Wednesday nights. And let's move on here. I'm going to leave a bookmark where I left off here so I could go back here. So landlords more than doubled their value of their equity from $600 billion in 2007 to $1.3 trillion in 2017. That's what Bloomberg says. UK's housing market is just... And with cities like Edinburgh and Dublin and Belfast catching up, I think it's going to be crazy. The value of all homes in the United Kingdom has risen by more than the third in the past decade to 7.14 trillion, with older homeowners and landlords winning the biggest share of the new wealth as young people continue to be priced out of the market. After several flat years of growth following the financial crisis, the value of the UK's property market has began picking up strongly after 2013, according to analysis Civilis and the estate agent. So again, I'm not going to read. It's coming from a real estate agent, and it's not good. Another person commenting, UK housing market remains solid, says Taylor Wimpey. Again, Taylor Wimpey, the UK's largest house builder. Of course he's going to say it's solid. Let's move on. UK housing starts to hit a 10-year high in 2017. British construction companies had their best year in a decade for starting work in new homes in 2017, and the outlook for 2018 is positive. An industry body said on Thursday. Again, back. We need some good journalism out there that's non-biased. This one's a bit scary. There's no article here because they want me to. This is from. Is this from Ireland or if this is from Scotland? Inside Housing. It's one. I think it's from Scotland and Ireland. And it says here, number of children in temporary accommodation in Scotland. It's from Scotland. Sorry, has jumped by 10%. That's phenomenal. This is incredible. Why is this happening? Number of children in temporary accommodation in Scotland jumps by 10%. And this is why the Scottish proper are holding back on having kids and starting families, because of the fear of this. And everyone's, someone's talking about stop talking food. It's the comment section people that are listening to this on podcasting, whatever you listen to. Okay, let's get back to this. Marta says she got... Oh, what does that say? Oh, okay. She got a warning at work for being subscribed to my show and commenting on my video. She sent this to me in an email, a private email, that she got a warning at work for being subscribed to my show and commenting on a video. We're talking about houses, guys. We're not even talking about... We're just talking about freaking houses in the show. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's I don't know. Okay, guys, someone's commenting here. We need 2 chat channels, one for Brian and one for everyone else. Yeah, Brian is talking up a storm. Yeah. So, guys, keep it PG. You know what I'm saying? Keep it PG. Okay, let's roll off into Canada. Loans against Canadian real estate rocket to a new high. So people borrowing against their real estate, and it's rocketing to a new high. Why? Because they gotta buy food. How are you gonna buy food? You know what I'm saying? How are you gonna buy food? Canadian real estate value soared, and have people scrambling to borrow against that value. Fillings from Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, OSFI, show that the total dollar value of loans secured by residential real estate reached an all-time high. This may be problematic in the personal loan segment, where the rate of growth has also hit an all-time high at the time where interest rates are starting to climb. Why are you borrowing with the rates going up? It's like robbing Peter to pay back Paul. It makes no sense. You're just going to pay more back. Loans secured by Canadian real estate. Loans secured by real estate are any loan where someone provides their home equity as a backup. So basically it's a second, a third, a fourth mortgage, a line of credit, you know, for emergencies. So someone's saying, Mike, free speech, right? Yeah, for sure. And so a lot of joking around in the comments section, and got quite a few people watching the show. Loans secured by Canadian real estate. This is not good. bank breaks down these loans into two categories, business and non-business. Business loans secured by residential real estate have always been a normal thing. Many new businesses don't have credit history, so the owner often pledges their home in the event of default. This is that good debt. People are always talking about their borrowing in order to potentially make more money. This is a contrast to non-business purposes, which could be for any reason, from financing a new kitchen to providing the kids with a down payment to their very own condo. So loans for business purpose were over $9 billion. So the value of business loans secured with residential real estate held by Canadian banks. Wow. Look at that dip there. But that's a lot, man. Woof. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of cake. Personal loans secured with homes rises $15 billion for personal. So this is not business. This is someone like, I need 40 grand. I need 30 grand. You know, I need the equity, you know? Loans secured for non-business purposes hit a new record for growth. The total balance is $250.37 billion as of November, increase from the month before. So $15 billion in insecure debt. So this is what you call secured debt. When you have an unsecured debt, it means you're signing on your signature, you'll pay it back, and if you don't pay it back, they'll destroy your credits. This, a lot of people are backing their property basically to back up as security. Unsecured debt is also out of control for people that rent, and a lot of renters and student loans too. A lot of that stuff is out of control right now. So let's get back here. Where was I? Okay. Where was it? I'm just reading out some of the emails that I got and comments that were on my videos. Ray, known as Ray-Ban in Portland, says, I got my computer playing your shows all day in a carousel. It's impossible. You have exactly 3,999.98 hours per month. So that there goes for you. That someone's going to my carousel or my playlist of my videos, playing them all day, all night, and it's telling me that it's impossible that I have 3,999 hours per month. Back to the YouTube discussion where I'm not making the 4,000 hour threshold on my videos. It's always 3,999. So I might not qualify. They might cancel live streaming if you're under 1,000. So under 4,000 hours a month. So everybody is commenting in the comment section. Comment section's on fire right now. Vancouver housing affordability got bad fast according to study. Well, what do you guys think? That house you see back here in this image, that's like $1.8 million for that house. That's $1.8 million bucks. You know that's why I didn't want to live in Vancouver. It's because I'm not paying $1.8 million for that house. I know it's got indoor plumbing. Calm down. It has indoor plumbing, but it's a good feature and all, but I'm not paying that much. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what this says. Vancouver's housing affordability is deteriorated more than any other major city found on Demographia's latest list of severely unaffordable cities around the world released Sunday. Woo! Vancouver's housing affordability has deteriorated more than any other city. The city found Demographic's latest list of severely unaffordable cities around the world released on Sunday. That the 14th annual survey put Vancouver third on its severely unaffordable list, just behind Hong Kong, that was number 1, and Sydney in number 2, which we just brought up. And then I think it's that other city in New Zealand that comes in 4th. May seem unremarkable after years of escalating housing prices, but the speed of which Vancouver turned so unaffordable is unparalleled, according to the survey produced by US-based Demographia Performance Urban Planning from New Zealand. Wow. See everything, all these English-speaking countries are all kind of in tune and tied in together? And people are... The thing is going crazy. The chat's going crazy. Brian White's everywhere tonight, people. He's in this chat full blast. And everyone's commenting on him and his, discussion and his points of views. Okay, the survey rated middle-income housing and affordability using measure called median multiple. It captures the median house price divided by the median household income in a given market. A median multiple of 5.1 means a home cost is more than 5 times its average household income is considered severely unaffordable. 5 times. But listen to this. Listen to this, guys. Here's the cherry. Vancouver's median multiple of 12.6 is the third among the worst 90. So it's 12.6 times your annual income. Among the 92 major metropolitan markets included in the survey, and incidentally, the worst in history on survey. But as recently as 2004, the median multiple was just 5.3, still severely unaffordable. We're nowhere close to 2017 figure. So 2004, the housing in Vancouver was still unaffordable. It was still not within range, and it was 5.3% of people's annual income. Now it's 12.6. That's tons of people commenting. Wow, the comments are going pretty quick here. So, the survey released by the Frontier Center. So, let's move on here. So, Toronto's median multiple stood 7.9 in the latest survey, up 3.9 in 2004, where Montreal was listed 4.5, up from 3.1 from 2004. They were followed by Calgary, Ottawa, and Edmonton. The most affordable Canadian market among those surveyed is Moncton, with a median multiple of 2.1, and Fort McMurray was listed at 2.2. So it's affordable. It's 2 times your income, annual income in Moncton or Fort McMurray to live. I don't know where Moncton is. Moncton. I think it's General Moncton. I don't know where that is. But if anyone knows where that city is, let me know, please. All right, let's move out. Here's another way to look at how unaffordable Vancouver housing has become. Again, this is the same article I read, but from a different outfit. Realtors' fourth quarter report finds in Metro Vancouver condos were king last year. Oh, yeah. There were some places where condos went up like 150 grand in 3 months. Lots of comments going through. Someone's commenting here. Learn day trading and invest. Conquer the rigged financial system and you will succeed in life. Knowing how to trade currencies is like printing money. It's true. It's very true. Money's in markets. Money, there's a sea of money to be made in markets. You know, I do my own stock trading too. I'm not a day trader. I hold on to things. I sell things, and I buy, I sell when it's high, and I go back and forth, and it's nice, you know. And let's keep going here. So this is nothing yet, and it's Royal LePage. We're not going to read that because it's coming from a real estate agent or a real estate company. I gotta do this one. Surrey, now leader. For people living out in Surrey, they complain that I do not get enough. I don't talk enough about Surrey. Surrey is 40 minutes away or 30 minutes, depending on what time you go. It's about a 30-minute drive from Vancouver. It's over a bridge, depending on where you're coming from. You got to cross water, a small little canal, and it's called Surrey. And it's the new leader. Real estate market is still hot despite soaring prices for detached homes. So it says here, stats show that the benchmark price for detached home in Langley is topping the $1 million mark. So Langley, all these cities, Langley's further out. It's like way further out. And topping the $1 million mark at $1.002 thousand. The benchmark represents a typical property within each market. So North Surrey, 950,000. North Delta, 921,000. Are at the cusp of $1 million. Abbotsford, 792,000. And Mission, 640,000, rounding the communities of the FVREB umbrella, according to December statistics. So what's happening here, guys, is all these big cities outside Vancouver, all the millennials, the middle class, the people trying to get ahead in life, or the people that want to own, have moved out to these cities. I did the next one. I said, screw that. I'm moving 2 hours away. I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? And this is what's been happening. In Langley Township, strata condos have increased 33%. Strata condos have increased 33%, and strata townhouses 13%. Wow. Typical homes surpassing the $500,000 mark. So if you want something affordable, you're looking to move an hour out of the city, and you're looking to pay $500,000 for something that is affordable. And now with the new stress tests, I don't know what that's gonna bring. So there's a long article you guys can read. This thing goes in depth here. A lot of pictures. And then someone, Hang Duong says, prices aren't going down, folks. Young folks better get used to living with roommates. Probably a heavy-duty investor. So that's that. Let's move on. Saskatchewan sees a drop in housing construction as Alberta booms. So Saskatchewan has been in the slum, a housing slum right now. Price of housing is dropping. In Saskatoon, slight drops in housing. No big booms going on there. Saskatchewan saw a bigger year-on-year downturn in the housing construction than any other province, according to November statistics released Monday. Alberta's seeing a boom, guys. So, and I have a feeling that you're going to start seeing the next boom in Alberta again. I think you're going to see another big housing boom in Alberta, because you got a lot of people from British Columbia that moved from Alberta years back when the oil dropped, moved to BC now, or moving back to Alberta, or moving back with family, or restarting back in Alberta. And let's keep going here. Saskatchewan sees a drop in housing construction as Alberta booms. So let's move on here. Rising mortgage rates unlikely to slow down in hot Toronto housing market. So if you're living in Toronto, mortgage rates won't slow down. I think there's going to be 2 increases this year in 2018. I think there's going to be huge changes. You're going to see huge correction, especially in Toronto. I think Toronto went up way too fast. Like 3 articles ago I read to you guys. Toronto went up way too fast. Way too fast. Like, it just went up way too fast. Vancouver has been the last 10, 12 years, like I said. But Toronto, it was kind of 10 years, but then it just went pow, one summer, the summer of 17. I don't know if you guys remember that summer, when all these new stress tests were coming into place, and protection, you know what I'm saying? Protection for homeowners, where basically to protect against foreign investors is what I meant to say. Sorry. So everybody is commenting here. Comments are out of control. We'll do a Bitcoin show, guys, on Sunday. We'll do some Mike in the Night. We'll do a Sunday show. People are commenting about Bitcoin. So let's see here what it says. Rising mortgages. So that's what's going to happen, people. You're going to see a lot of people failing their stress tests. A booming Canadian economy has prompted the Bank of Canada to hike its lending rate 1/4 point for the 3rd time since last summer. In the near term, it will likely mean some belt tightening among those. Oh, someone's calling in. Hello. Yo.
What's going down?
Nada. Who is this?
This is Trevor.
Trevor?
Yeah.
Where are you calling from?
Where am I from? I'm from Vancouver. Where are you from?
Cool. No, I no, I'm here in Merritt. I'm just calling where you're calling from. So,
Calling from Vancouver.
yeah, how are things?
Things are good. So, you got the live stream going right now?
Yep. So, what's on your mind?
So this is about trends in the housing market, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, so can we talk about foreign investors for a second?
Go ahead.
I'm just going to get right down to the point, and a lot of people might be uncomfortable about this information, so this is just a trigger warning for anybody that's, really sensitive. So, in mainland China, there's a bunch of people who are taking out loans from the Bank of Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
and they are taking out loans for around $10 million, and they're coming out to Vancouver, and they're using the real estate market to invest money in not only Vancouver, but all over the world. They're doing this. They're investing stolen money that they have no intent in paying back. The housing market out here is literally making it unlivable for people to afford housing. So you obviously know this.
Okay, do you remember the article I read 3 weeks ago about the hockey bags?
No.
I read an article about people, Chinese investors or Chinese foreigners going into casinos full of with hockey bags full of cash, buying poker chips, sitting at the table for 2 minutes, and then cashing it back in for clean money.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all sorts of laundering going on, right? That's one of them. They're also open travel agents, launder money through that, and at the same time create fake IDs and fake passports and smuggle people into the country and get them lined to come here and become citizens. Not only that, we got politicians out here lining their pockets with dirty real estate money.
That's really sad. I don't know if you remember that article I did about what was happening in Seattle. A lot of our real estate agents went down to Seattle after the foreign buyer's tax was implemented in Vancouver. And the housing prices in Seattle jumped like 70% pretty much in the first in like less than a year. And yeah.
Well, we got to do something about this, man. This is getting out of control. And Canadians are very, very nice and very, very liberal for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to be seen as being racist or making transgressions that could be labeled as being xenophobic or racist or whatever.
Yeah.
Come to a point where we have to look past that shit. This is our livelihood that we're talking about here,
yeah.
And they're not going to stop.
But don't you remember my past shows? I say there's a Canadian proper, and then there's speculators. The Canadian proper is someone that comes from all over the world that actually comes to Canada, like I did from Portugal or whatever, right? Come to Canada to actually adapt the language, the culture, the people, the food, you know what I'm saying? And assimilate with everybody else and pay taxes, send my kids to school, right? And that kind of stuff. And what's happening is there's a lot of people coming in and they're not respecting what the country is and what it's been founded on, right? And taking advantage of the Canadian proper. And the Canadian proper could be from anywhere in the world, but somebody that makes Canada their home. And a lot of these speculators, Canada's not their home. It's just a place to park their money.
Yeah, of course. And it's being enabled.
And it's out of control. And then the Australian proper, if you think we have it bad in Vancouver, the things in Sydney are so out of control. You have that the police officers have to drive 2 hours every day to come into work. That's how bad it is in Australia. It's gotten so out of control. And Australia is a lot closer to other countries in Asia, right? So, New Zealand is facing the exact same problem. Do you remember what I read about New Zealand last week?
No, to be honest, brother, this is my first time tuning into your show ever.
Oh, okay, cool.
We have a link on a Discord server.
From a Discourse service?
Yeah, a Discord server. Shared your link.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what happened in New Zealand. You know the government of New Zealand banned foreign home ownership?
Well, good on them.
The foreigners cannot buy in New Zealand. And if somebody decides to sell in New Zealand, they have to prove that they're going to upgrade.
That's right. So that makes total sense, right? So in the current year, how are we going to elect government officials that are going to be based enough to do something like that?
The thing is, we have to find a government official that's going to actually have a political platform that's going to focus only on housing. So right now, with what's happening in New Zealand, I'm following New Zealand very closely because they're so damn sure that their housing crisis is based off of foreign speculating and investing. So what they're doing now is they shut down all foreign investing, not allowed. You can't buy. So even if I went there, I couldn't buy.
Right.
They wouldn't sell to me. So, in all fairness, let's see what this happens and how the ball rolls with New Zealand, because there's a lot of articles you could look up on Google. New Zealand bans foreign home ownership. Let's see what happens after first quarter and see where the housing prices goes. If it starts to plummet, if housing stays stagnant and doesn't move, what happens?
Well, then they don't blame it on that, right? Even if that's the problem.
Exactly. But first quarter will be too early. I want to see what happens first quarter, but let's wait an entire year and see what happens to the housing market in New Zealand. So, Let me ask you a question. Is Vancouver, how is Vancouver? I haven't been in Vancouver in a few months. I haven't driven down yet, but I will in the summer. How is Vancouver? Because last time I was there, a lot of empty streets along 1st, 2nd, 3rd Avenue, up by Renfrew, and First, Renfrew and, those kind of streets up there.
Yeah.
It was just nobody outside on the weekends, nobody barbecuing. All the houses are not boarded up, but there's just nobody there, Is it still the same?
Well, they implemented a tax and a penalty on, what's it called?
Empty homes, vacant tax, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Empty homes, capital gain fines or some shit like that. Either way, they can't leave houses empty anymore. They have to either rent them out or they have to live in them themselves. So what's happening is a lot of these owners are getting people to move in. So a lot of these people are going back and forth to mainland China all the time, and they don't really have a concept of what the laws are, the bylaws, and the residential tenancy laws, and they are having a hard time because they're getting renters in there and realizing, we can't just be a slumlord, or we can't just ignore them. We actually have to do something. We actually have to put in work. And I just dealt with some of this shit myself as bylaw in Boston here seems to be trying to squeeze foreign owners as hard as they can to not have a good time. So as soon as I moved in, because they were hitting them with capital gain tax, and as soon as I moved in, they hit them with illegal suite, bylaw, all this shit about bylaw. So I did a bunch of work there because I'm like a tradesman. So I did a bunch of work there to get it up to code. Now you wouldn't believe the way that he's fucking me around and trying to then screwing me over. And they're just if they're money hungry, it seems, and they don't they'll do anything to save and anything to not give you skill or to make it fair for you, because it's obviously just an invasion. It's really fucking it. And I hate to say it, but it's true, man. It's an invasion and it's a takeover, and they really don't give a fuck about the people who are living here already. They will put you out, and there's lessons coming in Boston.
Yeah, no, I hear you. The thing is, one of the main reasons why I left Vancouver was because every time I went out somewhere, it's like you could see the hatred in everybody. Not just everybody. Like everybody in the city, everybody's in debt. Everyone's pissed off. Everyone's upset. Everybody, you know what I'm saying, right? And like I'd go to Metrotown Mall. It's everyone's is upset, sad face. No one's happy. You know what I'm saying? And it just got to that point where I had to leave the big city, and I did. And anyways, I want to thank you for your call. It means a lot to me for calling into the show. And try and tune in next Wednesday if you can. I'll be live again. All right?
All right, man. You have a good one, Mike.
Thanks, brother. Good night. All right, another caller from Vancouver. And I have time for one more caller. I think Steve the plumber said he's going to call in. I don't know where he's at. And we're approaching the 1.5 hour mark of the show. I'm out of water. And let's continue here. Some dead air there. So that's what's happening in Toronto. Rising mortgage rates are going to start to... And who's going to suffer the most? It's the working poor is going to be actually handed the short end of the stick. The working poor is gonna is not good. Oh, someone's calling in. Hello, you're live.
Hey there, Mike. It's Steve.
Stevie, what's up, buddy?
Not much. What's going on?
Nada. Tell the callers where you're calling from.
Toronto, Canada.
Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So how are things in your neck of the woods?
Not too bad. Starting to get some cold weather moving in, but it's still quite mild.
Good, good, good. So, what's on your mind?
I'm liking the callers that are calling into the show. It looks like a lot of people are starting to get fed up with things. Trey's guy that just called in, I was listening to him speak, and I've had my own disasters with some foreigners doing work, not getting paid or jerked around, so on and so forth. And it's bad business that just doesn't belong in Canada as far as I'm concerned. I don't, I'm not trying to be prejudiced or racist or anything like that. It's a different way of life over there. It's very much so a communist situation, and
it's an oppressed.
Yeah.
It's very oppressed. You're gonna have the filthy rich, and you're gonna have the dirt poor. But the thing is, you know that China right now is sitting on 308 million millionaires, right?
Yeah, I read that somewhere. I think that number is actually quite accurate in terms of what I read. But yeah, they have quite a bit of money. And it's funny you mentioned that Canada's losing millionaires daily.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I think Mexico has more millionaires than we do. Like per capita, I think they do. Like because when I spent some time in Mexico, I spent almost 2 years. The amount of millionaires living there is beyond. So, anyways, what's the housing situation going on?
Well, it's definitely starting to crack. We're starting to see anything over 1.5, 1.7 to sit on the market, despite what organized real estate is continuing to say.
Yeah, did you hear some of the crap I was reading? What a bunch of crap.
It's funny, you actually read an article that by the Toronto Star, and that was a carbon copy of what Mario LePage, Phil Soper had put out, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I think it was Phil Soper.
It was. You see the two articles I had that were the same, similar?
Yeah, and you know they're fighting for content. You know they're fighting for content, and you know Phil Soper's not going to say to the Toronto Star, no, you can't. You know, reprint my my thoughts. And in fact, he's going to encourage it because you know any press is good press, and real estate agents are about to are really be in for a rude awakening. Nothing's selling unless it's affordable. In terms of the average household income.
Well, we're looking at Vancouver's 12.6 times the household income for the average house.
Yeah.
12.6.
And it's funny, 12.6. It actually, in a perfect world, I wouldn't say perfect world, but you should really only be parting with about 35 or 40% of your of one's household income to go towards your housing costs.
Do you remember the last part of the article I read? How it said that Moncton and part of Alberta, Fort St. John that part of Alberta is 1.2 and 1.8 times your annual income, that's what it should be.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Not 12.6.
Yeah, 12.6 is just off the charts. But they're, your caller that had called in before me, he's right on the money. There's so much dirty money that's flowing in right, left, and center. Canada Border Protection Services, they can't keep up with the amount of money that's coming through, and it's coming in droves. Whether they're strapping, it to their bodies or they're getting it here some other way, who knows? It's coming in, in droves, as I said, and it's basically creating, the average working Canadian to become so impoverished. It's not even funny.
Oh yeah, there's so many people living below the poverty level in Canada right now. It's beyond anything anybody could fathom. A lot of these people that fought in World War II, a lot of these older people that they would turn in their grave today if they knew how we sold out.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a good article. I believe you read it. It's now official that I guess 33.3%, the 1/3 of Canadians, officially can no longer afford to pay their bills. They're underwater. It's not a good thing. And then you get another 1/3, if you will. They're $200 away from basically being underwater.
It's actually $64. It's actually $64 for being underwater.
Oh, I heard it was 200.
Oh, okay, never mind. That was the money cents from the U.S. That was $64 in the U.S. Sorry.
Yeah, I heard it was $200. And it's a scary situation with interest rates on the rise. We've just seen one happen. We're definitely going to see another one, more than likely March, April. And some are calling for 2 more, which is probably, I think we can almost rule that out. You're definitely going to see 1 more, and then possibly a 3rd. It all depends. It depends on a number of different things. A lot of people lost money today in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
The American dollar's been the lowest it's been since 2014.
Yeah.
That was all over BNN.
Whoa! Yeah, 2014. It's hit a low. Yeah.
Yeah, you should. I'm not sure if you can pull up the article or not, but it was definitely a good article.
Well, it turns out the
there's
rich
some
don't
big
always get richer.
players that were commenting on it,
That's a
and it's a difficult set of circumstances because a lot of people are looking at the situation where, oh yeah, I've made money, in the stock market. The rest of your portfolio could be absolutely fine and performing well as a Canadian investor, but it's all tied to currency and directly to U.S. currency. So ultimately, if you and I are, investing in stocks, our rate of return can be whatever it wants, but keep in mind that we get paid back in Canadian dollars.
Okay, I got something here from CNBC stating the most countries, the most millionaires. Okay, so let's see what this says, and tell me if you believe it. It says the United States is in first place with 15.7 millionaires. Then the United Kingdom by 2.4 million millionaires. Japan, 2.1 millionaires. France, 1.8 millionaires. Germany, 1.5 millionaires. China, 1.3 millionaires. I don't think so. I said 300 million people because there's, 1.8 billion people living in China?
Yeah.
So I would think 300, but I am so wrong. I saw a documentary. They were saying that the middle class is just over 300 million, 308 million in China. So I misheard. I guess they meant the middle class is around 300 million in China, not the millionaires. I guess I was so wrong. Someone corrected me here in the comment section.
Yeah, I felt that number to be a little high. That's why I was shocked. But yeah, it's neither here nor there. No one's professional here. You know, we have these conversations, and it's good banter, and it's important that we're talking about this because the long and short of it, we're in for you know, a mean reversion and correction period with respect to housing as an asset class.
Oh, we're toast. We're in so much trouble. It's because I keep saying the same thing over and over again. We are tying our economy to housing. And because the housing hasn't crashed so fast, is because markets crash within hours, right? And days.
Yep.
But economies take months to years to crash. Because our housing market is tied to our economy, it can take a long time for it to properly correct itself.
Yeah.
Because it's too tied in. It's too deep. Like I said to the first caller, if Canada specialized in making electric cars instead of building more houses, we would see a boom in electric car sales. We would have a GDP. We'd have an major export. And we'd be fabricating all the parts in Canada. We'd create easily 47 to 12,000 jobs in every different sector of an electric car, right? And we would bank on the electric car for our economy. But we're banked on housing.
We are.
And what do? They build more, and they build more, and they build more, hoping they could build themselves out of this problem.
Yeah, that is actually the worst thing they can do. They don't need to increase the supply as much as organized real estate would love that to come to fruition. In actual fact, interest rates are far too low, and they need to rise.
Yeah, 5.5 to 6.5 is a normal, healthy interest rate because then you can get a return on your savings in your bank account.
Absolutely. People, you know, I've said it before. It is, or was, and still is a lot easier to go and borrow the money than to make it. And when all this money is cheap, it just becomes an absolute train wreck.
Oh, it does. It's a party. It's a party. Like Max Kaiser says on the RT. You get record low interest rates, you get all this stimulus coming in, and then boom, the party's over. Who's going to clean up the mess? The working poor.
Exactly. There is a lot, especially in Toronto, we're seeing a lot of investors. They've been in about face and they're gone. They're trying to sell whatever they can, you know, even at a discounted rate, because they know where this is going to go. When you don't have foreign investment and you don't have all-time high speculation, basically you're dealing with apples to apples. There's only so many people that can qualify for a mortgage to begin with. And then, you know, as things, you know, if you want to peel back the layers even further, you also have a situation where housing being so expensive right now, banks are just going to start saying no. And in actual fact, they have said no. And in more recent times, about 2 days ago, I actually had a personal friend of mine, and he can't close anymore. He went and he got his pre-approval before the stress testing. The bank said, yeah, you're good, everything is fine. They guaranteed the rate, but that's all they did. He was now stress tested at the 11th hour when he went in, and he can't close anymore because he can't qualify for the original amount.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and that's happening a lot. And you know what that's happening with, too? Pre-builds.
Pre-builds are an absolute disaster as well.
Oh, yeah. Pre-builds are going to be, woof. You're going to start seeing a huge, you're going to see just a lot of people just walking away. People are going to have to walk away from those deals. They have no choice.
Well, yeah, they're already starting to in terms of the speculators, but people that actually bought them, the smartest thing that they can do is walk away, forfeit their deposits in hopes to God that they don't get sued, because effective immediately, they're in a negative equity position.
Yeah, almost effective. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So a lot of people underwater. So Steve, where do you see things where do you see things by summer in Toronto?
I mean, NAFTA is going to play a big role. I think NAFTA has a good chance of being scrapped. It'll be similar to Brexit, where it's going to be phased out over, the next little while. When I say little while, I mean 2 or 3 years. Trump obviously won't get reelected. Maybe he will, or maybe he'll get assassinated. Who knows? The fact of the matter is, the verdict's out. Toronto, by the summertime, we will have seen, I guess, 2 quarters worth of stress testing going on. The first quarter is going to be a shock. Going into the second quarter of 2018 is going to be a reality for a lot of people. And then I think it's a very, very, very slippery slope downwards. I really do see houses coming down. Hopefully it's not hard and fast, because that would be really, really bad for the economy. But I do see, in terms of house prices falling 20 to 30%.
Mm-hmm. So you see that, you forecast 25% drop in housing. Do you think that's enough for the middle class to afford?
No, it's absolutely not.
It's still not there. Do you remember that video I made last week where I'm trying to make a deal fit? And with the new stress tests through CIBC, and I was looking at a house in Coquitlam, and I was trying to make a deal fit with the TDS, and I had to see how much I have to put down to buy this house. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's called actual cost of borrowing.
You were right on the money. And when I say 25% as a happy medium, I mean in terms of 2018, depending on where interest rates go and whatnot, whether he goes another time or he goes 2 times, that's just for 2018. 2019, we're in a recession. 100%. We're starting to see a massive amount of jobs leave Toronto. I'm not sure if you heard. I tried to link you earlier. Campbell's, then Campbell's Soup.
Yes. So fill us in. What's happening with those companies? Go ahead.
So there's 380 jobs that evaporated today. They're gone.
Okay, and
Gone to the U.S.
Okay, who is it? Go ahead.
Campbell's Soup
Yep.
went ahead and announced today they're closing their Toronto plant. And that basically is going to reflect 380 jobs being lost. And those jobs are going to 3 different facilities in the U.S. They don't have the article in front of me, but maybe you can pull it up.
Okay. No. And then what was the other one that also you were No Frills? Someone commented No Frills is closing.
Yeah, No Frills is closing. They're closing quite a bit, and then you had a video out that Safeway's gone as well. We're seeing, a lot of things come to fruition here. I think the Galen Westons of the world, and like the Loblaws,
Yeah, I have it right here. Loblaws plans to close 22 unprofitable stores.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I remember the one I read the other day, the No Frills looking to close stores. There's a lot of there's a clothing store I used to go to a lot. It's called Le Chateau. Are they still open? I heard they were closing.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear that, but it wouldn't surprise me. There's a lot of things, first it's Sears, then it's, Campbell's, and then it's, Loblaws, and then, you have your other stores that are underneath the Loblaws banner, but are all owned by franchisees. And those franchisees can't afford to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Can't afford to keep things going anymore.
So I got it right here. Le Chateau, Rittman's and Le Chateau, how fashion retail icons are fighting. Let me open the article here. How fashion retailers are fighting to stay in the game. So Le Chateau and Rittman's. So, these are 40 stores this year. Le Chateau will close 18. So it looks like they're having a hard time here keeping their lights open, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, with online shopping and everything else, that's the new way of the world, and there's nothing we can do about it.
It's called the Canadian braid drain. I made a video. I had a video series about that a year ago. And a year ago, I made a video about the Canadian brain drain, how a lot of doctors and nurses and people are moving down to Florida and Arizona and Mississippi and moving to other cities. Hi.
Yeah. And right now, there's actually a big push. We're getting emails through our trade networks that the U.S. is open for business. They want doctors. They want tradespeople.
Yep.
And they're the amount of money that they're offering, and basically, boom, done. You have all your paperwork within 60 days,
Mm-hmm.
and basically leave Toronto, from being impoverished to going to buy a house such as yours in Merritt, and you're going to pay $250 or $300,000 for a nice, big, beautiful home.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even need to spend that much. Yet you're making more money than as if you were working in Canada or Toronto.
Yeah, because buying power.
Immediately, just by way of taxation.
Well, and buying power is different too, because I could make half the wage than a person in Toronto and still be rich or live a better lifestyle because my cost of living is less and the buying power is higher.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of Toronto to Windsor.
Yeah, exactly. And buying power changes huge when it comes to things like that.
Exactly. So, in short, hopefully, a lot of your viewers, are starting to take note of all this. Again, please stop listening to organized real estate. All they're doing is continuing to pump up the market, usually with false, unreliable data. It will do nothing but hurt you. Start paying down debt as fast as you possibly can. I'm not trying to give unsolicited advice, but these economists are saying the Bank of Canada is not going to, continue to keep rates very, very low just because every single household is leveraged to the point of no return. They were very, very, blunt about saying, if you don't, we're going to raise interest rates. Some of his comments were so hawkish in terms of even bullets. Just basically said, pay down debt. Get into a position where interest you can actually cease to exist under normal circumstances, including normal interest rates.
Right.
Because the housing market does represent an astronomical percentage of Canadian GDP, not the be-all and end-all.
That's right. That's correct. Anyway, Steve, I'm gonna have to let you go. I'm coming up to my 2-hour mark, and the kids are coming down for me to tuck them into bed. And I appreciate your call. We'll have some open lines again next week. We got a lot of good callers in this week. I appreciate that. And we'll hit on some more topics next week. Keep sending me some of those links, and I'll see if I can read them through the week, okay?
Yeah, there's going to be some big announcements coming out by some of the economists and stuff this later next week. From what I've been told, it's going to be interesting to see how things unfold. But
I think it's going to be a very interesting Q1, 1 week after Q1. I want to read what the real estate agents are saying, and then I want to read what the actual Better Dwelling or those other guys have to say.
Absolutely. We'll dissect it and rip it apart. You be well, Mike. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Thanks, brother. Good night. Anyways, guys, I'm signing off. I want to thank everyone for making this show possible. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and get this show out there. The kids are calling. It's bedtime. It is bedtime. There's little Antonio. And it's time to my daughter. It's time to go to bed. Dice Deus, Anton. Good night, guys, and thanks for calling in, and I appreciate it.